Hello, my name is Marnita Harris, and I'm the Vice President of Economic Equity and Inclusion here at the Detroit Regional Chamber. I'm happy to be here today with Rumia Ambrose-Burbank. She is the President and founder of VMS 365, Vendor Managed Solutions. We will spend time today just discussing why economic equity and inclusion is important to the businesses. Okay, so Rumia, thank you for taking time to contribute to this series. Seriously, I really appreciate it. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate being here with you guys today, and I'm excited to dive into this.
Okay. So I'm gonna start off with I like to let people know a little bit about you. And so can you take a moment to talk a bit about yourself and about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a native Detroiter, born and raised.
Yay.
Um, exactly. Was educated in public school system for a while and stayed in state for college. Started my company over 26 years ago. My company started as a joint venture with a larger corporation called EDS and ended up leaving EDS to run a new co with seven of us. Our company is focused in supply chain solutions for the industrial space. So we do everything from buying operations where companies outsource their purchasing to actually being in the facility, receiving product, staging product, putting away product. So that's what we do. 26 years. I am the only one left. I was actually co-founder,
Okay.
and now I am the single owner.
Yes, yes. Well, that's so I hate to say it, but that's so Detroit. It's so Detroit,
Right?
we are able to adapt,
Yes,
and just keep going. So
absolutely.
yeah, so I want to go to our questions, and one
Yeah,
of them is why does economic equity and inclusion matter to your organization, and why should it matter to the Detroit region?
sure. So when I think about equity and inclusion, the first thing I think about, at least for us, is access. And I mean, it's access to opportunities, it's access to talent in the area, it's access to perspectives, different perspectives. And what I mean by that is a lot of times smaller companies, specifically minority companies, which we are, women owned minority, it's hard to get in the room where the opportunities are being discussed. And then when it's time to kind of go out for bid, um, we just don't know. We don't know how to get engaged, how to kind of get our foot in the door. And so economic equity for us means access to opportunities. And then in turn, from access to opportunities, when we're looking for talent, folks want to know who your clients are. And
Right.
because we've had the opportunity to get our foot in the door with certain customers, they want to be a part of it. And so it's broader than just the business. It's also about building a competent team and keeping folks around from a retention standpoint. And all of that to me just boils down to access.
Yes. Great, great. So how
Oh, and
can
then to
oh
the second
come on,
part for
it's fine.
The Detroit, why it
Yes,
matters to Detroit. I think that was the second part of your question.
yes.
I think for the region, it's similar to the same things we look at from a business perspective. We talk about economic revitalization and engagement in the community, and what I see is a lot of times when folks who are in the community have opportunities to build a business. They hire local, they put their businesses in the community, which then, you're employing folks in the community. We employ about 160 folks throughout two regions, but
Mhm.
specifically in the Michigan area at about 75 people. But that makes a difference if you have businesses that are starting up and they're employing folks in the area in the region. That sparks. So that to me is
Mhm.
why the main reason why it's important for the city of Detroit. And the other thing with regard to that is when you have folks in the community that's employed, It also helps with reducing poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a small business that goes up in a community and then another small business and then they employ in those communities, it has a domino effect.
Yes, yes. And it's cyclical, it's feeding the economy.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. What is VMS doing to contribute to a more equitable Detroit region?
So, how we contribute to a more economical Detroit? Number
Mhm.
one is we actually work with local suppliers. We work with over 200 local suppliers, and that's big for us. We want to keep our business within the region, and so anytime we're sourcing materials or we're sourcing people for projects, we are always looking to source within this region first.
Great.
And then if we can't get what we need, we go outside of the region. So that's number one. And then from a internal perspective, our organization and our people support a lot of community initiatives here locally. For example, American Heart Association is one that we support. There's revitalization projects that happen within the
Mhm.
city that our team gets engaged in, and several others. We do things for the parade company.
Yeah.
We do things for the museums here locally. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that we do to kind of get engaged and to make Detroit a more economical space. And I want to say that another big part of that is mentorship. We work with, and not only do we have interns that come in the summertime, but we also work with some organizations where we do executive on loan. So a lot of our team
Oh.
goes over and works with different organizations, specifically in STEM, to work with
Mhm.
the kids to kind of get them exposed. We used to do a lot of work with Crystal Ray, where we had kids that would come into our organization and work and get exposed to jobs. So to me, that's what companies should be doing within the
Mhm.
city to help the city to grow the city.
Mhm. Yes, that's contributing to the community in which you are
Absolutely.
housed in. You're giving back as you're doing the day-to-day work. The executive
Absolutely.
on loan, that sounds so cool. That's cool. Yeah, come out. Okay, and so what do you think is missing from current economic equity and inclusion initiatives? If there's anything you think is missing, what do you think is missing?
Well, from my perspective, what's missing is real long-term initiatives. I feel like sometimes corporations will put these short-term initiatives in to meet some sort of short-term objective. They looked at their numbers for the quarter and then go, oh, wow, we don't have the type of representation we want. So they'll put these initiatives in place with no real long-term plans or commitments. And I use the word tokenism sometimes.
Hmm.
It's initiatives that focus on diversity and inclusion, but have no real meat.
Right,
It's
right,
more about we can say that we're doing this, but a lot of times the work that's sourced isn't impactful to the company.
right.
I think sometimes having impactful, meaningful initiatives and impactful opportunities that the company source are things
Right.
sometimes that are missing.
Okay. And then if you had an opportunity to just sit down with a business leader and say, I, if they ask you for advice, what advice would you give a business leader hoping to get more engaged in economic equity and inclusion or wanting to learn more about it?
Sure. Well, if it's someone who works for a corporation and they're looking to understand, you know, how to do it, how to go about doing it, and why it's important, I would say the first thing that corporations, I think, and companies need to do, or even individuals, is understand the why. And I think because companies haven't really embraced the why, is a big part of why they're going away and they're not being as successful as they were. So if we understand the why, what's the impact from an economic standpoint to my company? Is it going to allow me to enter into more diverse spaces? Is it going to allow me to bring more diverse ideas to the table when I'm speaking with my clients? So I think the first thing I would say is understand the why. Why is it important to your company? Why do you need to do this? And then the next thing I would say is garner support because you've got to have support within your circle, within your corporation to make it successful. And that is also selling the why. Why is it important for us to do this? And making sure everyone supports it. And then it goes back to what I said before, having meaningful programs
Mhm.
that are not just about tokenism and meeting a quota, but are actually impactful to the business and being able to monitor and measure the impact. Because if I'm able to say this actually from data was impactful to the bottom line, then there's it doesn't have to be labeled anymore as an
Right.
initiative just for this. It's an impactful initiative that we do all the time. And so my advice would be impactful initiative,
Mhm.
making sure that you know the why and ensuring that everyone's bought into it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That I was doing an interview earlier and they were talking about that exact same thing, metrics and data.
Yep.
Metrics and data, and it's proven metrics and data. When you bring in diverse thought to your business, you're
Mhm.
bringing diverse customer to your
That's
building, which
right.
will
That's right.
grow your business bottom line. And so that's the thing that we say here, it's very imperative to business because it can help grow your bottom line. It
Absolutely.
could also get you recognition and understanding about, and the people say recognition, but in the community in which you sit, if they feel like you are vested in them,
That's
being
right.
vested in the community also allows you to grow. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, my last question, well, I wouldn't say it's my last because you might have, I might want to close with something else. Um, if you were to talk about benefits to your business itself, what benefits have you seen to that VMS has taken in from practicing economic equity and inclusion?
You mean from our perspective of
Yes.
us practicing economic
Mm-hmm.
and well, I think it's the same thought that I have for large corporations. We
Mm-hmm.
bring in diverse talent because we want diverse thought. We want ingenuity. We want different approaches, and that's based on people's different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we are in a position now where we can actually have a think tank and R&D and research and development and look for opportunities to kind of put things out in the market and understand where trends are going, which a lot of small companies don't have that ability to do just because they're trying to keep operations going and meet payroll and do the day-to-day stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, I want to say a big thing for us is um, having folks that look and understand the markets that we want to go into
Mm-hmm.
and have that thought process of how to be able to do that. Because once you start to get outside of your comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be arrogant to assume that everyone who looks like you
Thinks
thinks
like you.
like you can bring the same
Yes.
thought process. People want to see themselves in the
Mm-hmm.
staff. They want to understand that you get them. And sometimes it's with having the diversity that comes in the door. And so we're big on that. The other thing I think when it comes to equity and diversity within our own corporation is we actually hold ourselves accountable to um, ensuring that our workforce is diverse, in addition to trying to diversify our client base.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our own internal metrics that we do. Women, um, ratio of women. We look at how ethnicity. We look at demographics. Where are people coming from? So there's tons of things that we hold ourselves accountable to when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to how we want our staff and makeup to look, even all the way up to my executive leadership team. Because of that reason, I want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure when we go into doors that people can see that, oh wow, they took the time, they're practicing what they preach,
Hmm.
and they're doing it the way that they want to see their customers do it.
Is there
Mhm.
any last words you will want to leave for folks that will be viewing this message?
I think I'm glad we're doing this, because this work is so important when we talk about economic opportunities, and making it equitable. And a lot of corporations now are going the opposite way for a myriad of reasons.
Hmm.
And it goes back to the conversation or the question that you asked earlier about, you know, it's the why,
Hmm.
it's if you don't see the value in it and you don't understand the business reasons, it's easy to
Hmm.
pull back. And I look at companies that had major commitments like Wells Fargo and IBM and Procter and Gamble and all those folks that are reframing or repositioning the DEI, and it's a little disheartening and it's a little scary in that, um,
Yes.
we have to be able to really, and some of this is our responsibility as small companies, to be able to articulate why it's important, and to be able to have the corporations understand the impact to their bottom line on ensuring that they have a diverse supply base, and ensuring that they have the voices at the table that's going to get them the ingenuity that they need to be
Hmm.
successful in the long term. And I just hope that this, what you're doing, companies are going to look at and go,
Hmm.
wow, we need to really rethink this, or we need to go to the table and we need to do that checklist.
Yes.
Why are we doing this? What's the impact to the bottom line? And
Hmm.
understanding how important this is, for the community, for these businesses, and long term growth of the economies. So that's all I have to say.
Exactly. Oh, but that was perfect. Thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
to spend time to offer your thought leadership to this series. It's very, very important that businesses hear from business. Even though this is my role here at the Detroit Regional Chamber, it's good for businesses to hear from other business leaders as to the importance of economic equity and inclusion. So I thank you so much. I thank you for your leadership at
Thank
your
you.
organization, your leadership in the community, your leadership, here at the chamber. And so I really, really appreciate you taking your time today.
And thank you for this and the work you do. And again, I hope this reaches the right ears. I
Yes.
expect it will.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnita. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye, hon.
Bye bye.